This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Do you have any doubts in the topics we discussed yesterday? Any doubts? Can I proceed?
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we'll start with the CSS positioning now. So now let's say, what do you mean by positioning? Now when you take a web page, the web page will be having different elements, like you'll be having a header, you'll be having navigational links, you'll be having images, you'll be having text. So you need to exactly know how to position the elements in the location you want. So then only you will be able to design a website. So we need to learn how to position. Okay, now for example, let's say you have a text block and you're adding a second text block and you want the second text block to be okay. So if you want it to be present below the first text block, or if you want to be present side by side, so how to position it, you need to learn. So that is what we are going to do today. Okay, there are 5 different options for positioning. The first one is the static positioning. That is, let's say the static positioning, you don't do anything as such. You just position the elements in the default location. Okay. Then relative. That is with respect to the one particular element, how to position the other element. Let's say I have an image and a text. So from the image, where exactly the text should be positioned. So what should be the, let's say, the margin between the image and the text. So this, you'll be concerned with this. That is called as relative positioning. So you take one particular element as a reference. With that as a reference, you position another element. Then absolute. Position absolute means with respect to, let's say, the browser window, or let's say our div, you position. So when you say exactly you want something to be in the bottom, let's say right corner, so it will be placed in the absolute bottom in the browser window, top left. So with respect to a container, you specify your positioning in absolute positioning. In the fixed positioning, okay, what you do is, wherever it is positioned by default, you fix it. And sticky means when you scroll through the browser window, okay, you want something to be present all the time. For example, let's say you have a header in a web page, header containing the company logo and the navigational links. Let's say the web page spans to 4 or 5 pages. So as you scroll through the pages by moving the scroll bar, you want the heading to be present all the time. So you specify the positioning as sticky. Sticky position is basically specified for headings and navigational links. Okay. First, we'll look at the static positioning. Okay, in the static positioning, you leave it, let's say, you just have positioned it according to the browser default. Okay, now here, for example, I have, let's say, a H1 tag. Okay, now I've given it as position static. So normally how the H1 will be positioned, when you give H1, it will position it at a current location. And when you keep on adding the H1, the heading tags, it will be positioned one below the other. So that is a default positioning. So when you say static, As per the browser default, the element will be positioned. That is, you're not giving any preference for positioning an element. You want to leave it at the default position. So you know h1 is a block element. So when I say h1 hello friends, it is displayed here. Again, when I let's say display the next heading, okay, it will leave it. So you know the h1, since it is a block element, it comes to the next, skips to the next line and displays the next element. So that is what happens. So here you leave it to the browser to decide how it has to be positioned by default. Clear, everyone? Okay, right now. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Then we'll come to the relative positioning. Okay, now here in this I have a, let's say a box. I've created a box using, let's say, this div class is equal to box. So for the div I've given these styling properties. The width is 400 and height is 400, and I've given a border, okay, margin. So that here the browser window, you see it as a box with this outline. So within this box, okay, I am going to position two different elements. So I've given a separate class for styling them. Then for each of these elements, I fix the width and height as 150. Okay, fine. So it will be a perfect square. Okay, and for the item, first item, I am giving, let's say, this background color blue, and I've given them different background colors. Right? Okay, fine. Now here, let's say, when I say position relative for item 1. So what is item 1? That is the blue colored box. I refer it to as the item 1. Okay. Now I have given position relative. When you say position relative, and if you leave it as it is, so it is not going to make any changes. For example, here I have given position relative, right? So then what I've done is, I'm now, after that I'm not given any let's say extra properties. Now you just look at it, it's not going to make any difference. So by default, when I create it in the HTML, so I have a box. Inside the box I have, let's say, an item 1 and item 2. So okay, both are div. You know, div is a block element. So the first box is positioned, okay, either, let's say, at the top left. Below that, the second box is positioned. Okay, now here I have just given position relative. When I just say position relative, you need to specify, okay, what, let's say, with respect to this div, this outer box, let's say I given position relative, then I need to specify either the top margin, bottom margin, left margin, or the right margin. So when I say position relative, now when I say left 30 pixel, so from the default position, it will be moved 30 pixels to the left. So after giving position relative, you need to give the new position or the coordinates for the element. Otherwise, it's not going to make any difference. So from the default position, okay, it has been moved what? 30 pixel. Okay, so then I can say right. Okay, top 30 pixel, I can say bottom, right, left, etc. Okay, now for example here, I comment this left. Okay, now when I say right 100%, you see what happens. Okay, so right 100%. Okay, then right 0%. So I've given right 100%, right 0%. It comes back to the actual position. Right, now I remove this. Right, I've just given right 100%. So with respect to the container, that is the outer div, so it has moved 100% to the right. Right? Now when I want to bring it back to the original position, I can say right 0. Now you see it comes back to the original position. So here I can say left 30 pixel. Now I'll comment all these things. So here I say bottom 50 pixel. So it has been moved from the bottom 50 pixel. Right? Okay. Then so I say right, top, bottom, right and left. So you can use any of these 4 properties, top, bottom, right and left, to specify where the element should be placed. Clear? So one by one, right, left and all these things you can try. So here what exactly I've done is I've tried to place the first element, okay, in relative to the, okay, what, let's say other element, okay, with respect to the outer div, right? Right now. So I've combined this item 1 and item 2. since I want the width and height to be the same for both the items. Over. So position relative. The next one is absolute. Okay. So here I have the same, let's say this boxes. Okay. Now for the first item, I've given this option, position absolute, bottom 0, right 0, top 0. Okay. Let us see how it positions. Okay. Now here for the item and again bottom, let's say this 0, right, and then top 0. Okay, so what exactly I wanted was, I wanted this box to be in this position, that is at the top right corner. So I've given, let's say what, by bottom 0, 0 top, but when I say absolute, position absolute, okay, it takes the topmost container and positions the item with respect to the container. So what is the topmost container? Let's say here I have the body tag. Inside the body I have this div, okay, and inside that I have these two divs. So the body tag, that is nothing but the viewport, that is a whole browser window you see that is available for the page. So it has taken, we call it as a viewport. It has taken the viewport as the reference and has positioned it with respect to the browser window. Now what I want is, I want this CSS box to be taken as the reference point. So what you need to do is, when you specify this container, the box, you say position relative. So here when I say position relative, what I mean is, for all the child elements inside this box. So this should be taken as a reference point. The box should be taken as a reference point and not the browser window. Now you see div class is equal to box. So this is the parent container which contains other two div. So these two are the child containers. Now for the parent container, when I say position relative, so this will be taken as a reference point for the child containers. Now when I reload the page, now you see, so here I've given top position absolute, what I given top, bottom 0 pixel, right 0 pixel, top 0 pixel. So it has positioned it at the, let's say the top right corner, right? Now here when I say, when I comment this bottom, Write down. So write down this. Then fixed position. Position fixed, I say left 50 pixel. So from the left side, okay, let's say 50 pixel distance, this will position it, right? So now here I say, and then 100 pixel. Now I say right 50 pixel. So with respect from this container, at a distance of 50 pixels, it positions it, right? So other styling and everything is the same. Only for this item 1, I'm making all the changes here. Okay, we'll come to the next topic. Okay, for the paragraph, okay, I've given the width as 30%. So here I have a very big paragraph spanning across 2-3 pages. So I get a scroll bar. Now for this links, navigational links, I've given the, let's say, position as sticky. So if you observe it, So I've given the, let's say, this header tab, and then this navigation. Let's say I have an unordered list, okay, and I have a paragraph spanning across more than one page. So when you load it for the first time, this is how the page appears in the browser. Now what I do is, to read this, I use the scroll bar, okay, and I move the scroll bar beyond the page. So if you observe, only this text is moving, but this unordered list is, let's say, is fixed to the browser window. So that is why it is called as sticky. Sticky means even when you scroll down the page and then view the other items, the element you have given the position as sticky will be always displayed on the browser window. So when you're designing a web page, you can, let's say, display the company logo and the link. You want it to be, let's say, displayed permanently. You can give the CSS position as sticky, right? Right now. So write down the CSS for the paragraph. Okay, you don't have to write it. You can just copy paste the text from any website and then you can try. There is no need to write the content for the paragraph. Okay, so write down, let's say, the other things. Finished? Okay. Okay, now in HTML5, HTML provides you some elements called as the semantic elements or layout elements to design a web page. Now, when you design any web page, let's say you'll see this header, and below the header you may have some navigational links, and then for the text content you can say, let's say it can be divided as article and section. As when you're designing a blog or a news website, okay, so you can give an article and it will be having multiple sections. Then you may have an aside element, okay, and then the footer. And sometimes the navigation also might appear in, let's say, here above this article. So the header might contain only the logo and the company name. So if you will, let's say, look at this layout, at the top you have the header, and then you have the navigational links, and next to the navigational links you have all the articles and then a footer element. So if you look at the example, let's say you open the Google home page. Okay, so when you open this, let's say this Google search engine. So what you say here, let's say you have this Google. Okay, you can consider this as the, let's say the header. So here you have all the frequently used links and everything. Okay, then let's say you can give, let's say you have the content. Now for example, when I'm searching for images, let's say car images, I go and search in Google. Okay, now you look at the result page, right? So I've searched for the car images. So the Google is going to display, or let's say all the content about cars. So it's going to display the text content under the heading all. And when I just want to look at the images, I click on images, right? And then all the images are listed out. Then let's say if you want to know, have some look at the books about the cars, and then shopping, you want to shop for some cars, right? So it is listing the results, okay, in this. So here, just have a look at this. This portion, you can see a small and can be considered as a header. So in the header, you have all the navigational links, and then the Google, and then the search bar. So that is the Google. You can add the Google logo and the content I am searching for. Okay, then below this you have the content. So this can be considered as a, let's say what, a section. So you have a header section at the top containing your search bar and then the Google logo, okay, and the navigational links. Below that you have the, let's say this the sections, right? And if you come to the bottom, so here I have a footer page, let's say with, let's say the other, so when you want to move to the next page, so this can be considered as a footer. So where exactly you're searching, everything it displays help. So this can be considered as a footer. So even your Google, let's say your search bar, the search result, it is being divided into, let's say this. Now let us come to YouTube. Now for example, I go to YouTube. So when you look at the YouTube, let's say here also, let's say you can find the same. Let's say you have this YouTube, at the header portion, you have the YouTube search bar, and then you have the sign in button. Below that, let's say you have a section. Okay, then it is divided into different sections with different content, right? So it is divided into a lot of other sections, right? And here I have some more navigational links. Okay, fine. So this can be at the top I have the header section consisting this YouTube logo, search bar and everything. And in the below the header I have a navigational page, right, containing all the main navigational things. And then let's say in the content it's divided into different sections. Okay, so here lot of suggestions YouTube is giving me for the different videos. It has been divided into different sections, right? Finally, let's say I have what at the bottom of the page. Okay, I mean there is no footer. It's not compulsory for every web page to have a footer, right? Now next let us come to the Rediff. Rediff is basically a news portal. Let us see how things are organized in, let's say, Rediff. So here also, let's say I have a header, okay, consisting of, let's say, this rediff.com, and then this main navigational things, okay. And then below this, let's say I have, let's say the navigation, okay. Then when I come to this, the section, I have a section consisting of all, let's say, this COVID-19 case, top stories, latest for you. And then here I have, let's say what, a picture. Then below this I have another section, okay, consisting of news about various topics. So this can be considered as a section, the set of images, the next section, and so on. Then here I have an advertisement, right? Okay, and there is a footer page. Okay, displaying advertisement as disclaimer, a small footer. Okay, so this is how, let's say, the Redis home page has a header, footer, and everything. Now, if I click on a news item, so under top stories, let's say I come here, you can consider this as an aside page where I have, let's say, the links to other news items. So this can be considered as an article. I consider, let's say, selected this Howrah turns battleground. I clicked on this. So here an article will have a heading, okay, and then some paragraph. It can also have images, right? Okay, in between. So there will be, so an article can have multiple paragraphs, and then let's say with images also. So wherever I feel relevant, I can add an image. So when you look at the semantic elements, so the header is a semantic header tab, lets you define a header for your web page. So under the header, I can display a logo, and then I can also display some navigational links if I want in the header itself. And then if not, I can display it below this, let's say, header, and then I can have a section. Okay, so if it is a blog, okay, I'll be having different, let's say, a blog, I can have an article. So I can display articles about different topics. Okay, when I write a blog, so when the user clicks on, for example, I'm explaining about how to design a web page, so I can display an article. Let's say HTML elements, CSS are right. So each article will in turn link you to, might take you to another page. So you have the main content and then the article, and or you can have sections in a news website aside, and then footer. Okay, the footer you can give the contact information. If I am writing a blog, I can give my email address, or let's say the Facebook link, etc. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to look at all these elements one by one. First, let us look at the section. Okay, now I'll show you the, see, now let's say I want to display some information about, let's say, NICT computer education, about NICT. Okay, the company I'm working for. So what I need to do, first you need to prepare your content. Okay, now somebody comes and tells you, so I'm writing a blog, so in my blog I'll allow you to create a section for NICT. Okay, you prepare the content. So what I need to do, I need to prepare, need to think what goes into the, okay, what heading I'm going to give, and below that, let's say they may say give 3 or 4 lines. So what I am going to describe about NICT. Okay, first you need to prepare your content. So first, let's say in a section will contain what, let's say NICT computer education, right? And then I need to, let's say, display some content about NICT, what NICT does. Okay, let's how many students NICT has trained, and everything. I can prepare a small paragraph, okay, describing about all the activities of NICT. So before you start designing any web page, first you need to prepare your content. So what I mean by preparing a content, my web page will be having, let's say, different articles, okay, text. So what are all the text which goes into your web page? Okay, then what are all the images you're going to have, and how many navigation you're going to have. First you need to prepare the content, then only you have to sit and start, let's say, designing the page. Okay, so in the section I've just given, okay, this is what I want to appear in the web page, let's say in the blog for the section NICT. I've prepared the content here. So I have the heading, then I have the content. Then what is the next step? So NICT computer education, so naturally I need to identify which should be highlighted. So by looking through the content, you can easily understand that this should be the heading, And this should be the paragraph. So when I say heading, the heading I need to be, let's say, style it with H1 or H2 or any of this. So I need to use one of the heading tags. And then you have to mark up your content that comes under the, that is your next activity. Okay, so here I have head section. Mark up your content. So this is has to be styled here, styled as a heading H1. Then this, let's say, is the paragraph. So once I have prepared my content, then I have marked up my content with appropriate HTML tag. What comes next? Next comes styling. So I can specify a style sheet rule, specifying how the H1 heading should appear, how the paragraph should appear. So next comes your styling. So this is where section element. Okay, so I have given a similar, designed a simple, very simple style sheet. Okay, so I have not given any background or anything, right? So section, how it should be styled. For the section tag, I have just given the margin. So you see, from the let's say left of the browser window and the right, it is displayed with a margin of 15 pixels. So what should be the margin for my section? So when I have a section, so the margin is applicable to all the child elements that appear within this section element. So this margin is applied for my H1, for my paragraph. Let's say in case I add some more elements to this, the margin will be applied to that also. So margin 15 pixels. And then for the paragraph, so I can define the font. Okay, and then I can define the font settings and everything. So if I want to specify a style for H1, I can do it. Let's say I want my headings to be displayed in a blue color. So now I say color blue. So I've given a color, right? And then if I want, I can specify. So the font family, I give the same font family. And then since it is a heading, I make the font size larger. So I make it 22 points. So right, so before you start designing a page, decide, and let's say if there are any logo you need to download or you need to design the logo, right? And then you need to define the content, and then so finally you have to, let's say, mark up the content, and then finally you come to the styling. So you specify your the content. So if I have an image, I want to display an image, I can give the img tag. So first you describe all the content, let's say in the body tag, and then mark up all the contents. So fine, then finally you come and do the styling. So in a web page, let's say a web page might have different sections. Right, so let's say I can have different section. Each section will be having a different content. So let's say prepare the content for each and every section. In some section might have heading paragraph, some section might have heading paragraph images, some section might have ordered list. So you prepare the content for the section, and then you come and do your styling, and finally you display the web page. Is it clear to everyone? Clear? So tell me, have you understood what I explained?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So just a minute. So first you write down layout of a web page. So prepare the content. So when I say prepare the content, okay, I mean sections, and if you have any image, then what you need to do is then mark up then finally fine. This is how you go about designing a page, right? Fine. Write down this first. Over. Fine. So in this section, so I want to describe how you, let's say, go about designing a section. Okay, so first let's say I prepared the content, as you see, mark up the content, and then finally you style it and design it. Okay, so write up. So what I've shown you is a very simplified version of the section. Next, in the coming let's say classes, we'll be looking at how to add so many different elements and how to position one content with relative to the another. All that we'll be implementing. So right on, this is a very simplified basic section. Example for a very basic section element. So when you go about designing a web pages in real time, so let's say what they do is they prepare the images and then the text content. So because when somebody reads the text in your web page, so it should be written very clearly and it should be understandable to anyone who reads it. So these are the Major content you need to look at. Well, let's say what goes into the text content goes into your page, and how, what are all the images, and how you are going to, let's say, combine the text and the images so that your web page looks very decent and attractive. Over, right. Okay, next comes your article. Fine. And you can also, okay, yes, when you can have a section, I say a section might contain an article, or you can have an article, so the you can have a section tag, within that you can have an article tag, or within an article tag you can create multiple section. Okay, now you've seen let's say in different blogs and everything. Okay, so let's say when you're designing a blog, you will, in the home page you can list out the important topics, let's say you have, so you can consider it as an let's say section, and in that section you can add so many articles, right? Okay, next we'll see how to design an article. So for the article element, when I say article, let's say it might contain multiple paragraphs. Let's say when the content here I have is about NICT. So when I want to give a, let's say, an overview of what NICT is about. So briefly I can say about us. Then our philosophy. In a website you've seen, no, what in the home page. So then what is the mission? All this I want to give. So here, let's say in the body tag, these are all the content which I want to display. Welcome to NICT. I first want to display a welcome message. Then I want to give a brief explanation about NICT and NICT's mission, philosophy, etc. Right? And all this organized under different headings with different paragraphs. So normally when you take a web page, it will not be consist of just a single paragraph. It will have lot of paragraphs. So here is my content. So my content here consists of what? Let's say is divided into basically under 3 different heads, right? And each and every topic I have 1 or 2 paragraphs. And our philosophy here I have 2 paragraphs. Like that, let's say you can have a particular topic can have 2, 3 or 4 paragraphs also, right? The next one is to what? Mark up the content. So let us see how we are going to mark it up. Right now, first let's say the welcome message is that I give the top level heading for that, H1, welcome to NICT. Then let's say what I give, let's say this article. Okay, then so this is the second level heading. I have given H2, right? So the welcome to NICT, this is the top level heading. I have marked it with H1. This is the second level heading. I have given H2. So I have given the article, right? Then H2 and then the paragraph. So I'm describing about this heading. Then I end this article. Then comes the next article. So all these different headings, I've grouped it into different articles. Again, this is a second level heading, paragraph. Then again, so totally, I let's say marked it with 3 different article tags. My content with 3 different article tags. Next, we'll look at, okay, just the article element without any styling. So I have given the markup, right? Okay, the first one is a top level heading, welcome to NICT. Then this is one article. So it has, let's say, this heading and then the paragraph. Then another article, paragraph, and so on. First you can display it and see how the content looks. So what is the purpose of doing it? Let's say first, let's say you can read the one, let's say about the content. In case you feel that you need to add anything, you can add some more. For example, if I want to add more, let's say some more content about NICT's mission, I can add. And if you feel that it is, let's say there are too much details, you can cut down some details. So without any styling, you mark up your content and then display it on the web page and then go through it, read it, and then you decide whether the content you've given is appropriate, or if you need to add anything or you need to remove anything, everything you can decide. So once you have decided all that, then you can come to styling your content, right? So I have 3 different article tags. Okay, and then I've created, let's say, this web. Then we'll come to CSS. Now you see the content, just the content without the styling, the content styled with CSS, right? Okay, so what styling I've given for the top level? I've given a background color for the, let's say, this article, right? And then I'm displaying the top level heading. And for the article, I've given some margin, right? So margin, I've given a, let's say, style for this second level heading. And then I've also specified the article and I've been displaying it with a background color of white. So let's say I have 3 different articles, right? I'm displaying it in 3 different, let's say, article tags. So since I've given a background color to the section, the background color, let's say, acts as a separator. And for the content, I'm giving a background color of, let's say, white, right? So this is your article without any the styling, and then the article with styling. Then you can let's say have a look at it. In case you want to modify something, you can very well modify. So now let's say, let us see how I have done the styling. So article class. Okay, so basically I have, let's say I have one article consisting of all this content, so everything can be considered as an article. So this is the top level heading for the article. Then I have these three are article is contained within the outer article, the main article, right? So here let's say about, let's say I'm describing about NICT. So article, I've given the class name as NICT. You can ask me why you have to for in HTML5, then you're advised to create, classes and IDs for to style your different elements. I'll tell you why. For example, instead of giving this article class as NICT, I can actually give here as article itself. I can style. Yes or no? Yes or no? Tell me no. So article is also an HTML element. I can also take it as a selector and give the styling. Yes or no? Hello? Come on, I want a response. So that can also be done. I can here, let's say, give the same as say article, but here the problem is I'll be having different articles, right? So for these three, let's say this sub elements, I have to give a particular style, and for the topmost article, I want to give a different style. So that is why you're advised to use classes. So here I have given the class as NICT. Okay, and I'm styling this NICT, the topmost element. So margin 0, padding, background color light blue. So that is applied for the entire article, right? Then let's say I have, let's say the next article. I've given the class as NI, right? Okay, for the all the other three articles, I've given the class as NI, and here I've styled it background color white. Okay, now I can have, let's say, one more article. So let's say, for example, for the middle paragraph, our philosophy, I want to give a dark colored background with a light colored text, right? So that also I can do. Let us see how to do it. In my background white. Okay, so here I say one. Background color blue. Dot NI1. So classes NI1. Now you see, I've applied a different style, and the text is also dark. I'm not able to read it properly. So what I do is I'll give the foreground color as white. And I want the text to be displayed in white color white. Right? Okay, fine. So for a, let's say, one particular paragraph or article, you want to give a different style, it will be helpful if you use different classes, right? So I can define different styles and I can apply it to different articles within the same section. Clear? Okay. So write down. So when the background color is a lighter color, your text color should be black. But if the background color, let's say, is a dark one, your text should be in, let's say, white. Fine. Write down. So now what I suggest is the paragraph you don't have to copy. Let's say you can go to the NICT website and then you can let's say copy and paste the text and write. So write down this article and the classes, headings and everything. For the paragraph content, you can take it from the NICT website and copy paste in your HTML code and try. Right? right? Okay, now we'll see how to create a navigational menu, right? So what do you mean by navigational menu? When you, for example, okay, so these are the navigational menus. Okay, when you go to the home page, here you see, Infosys knowledge, investors, careers. Likewise, you go to, let's say, when I go to the Wipro website. So this is called as a navigational menu. Okay, it's industries. You move the mouse pointer, you get, let's say it turns into a hand sign, right? You will be able to navigate between the site using this navigational menu. Now, for example, click on About Wipro, takes me to the About page. So normally in the header section, if you look at it, you'll have the company logo and then the navigational menu. Okay, so about Wipro. So let's say here you say about us. I click. A navigational menu can also have submenus. Fine. In every web page, you will get to see this navigational menu. The same thing you would have observed in, let's say, in Amazon, Flipkart. Now here, let's say you see this is the navigational menu, customer service books. Now, for example, let's say I click on mobiles. Here also I get to have the same navigational menu, right? Okay, so the navigational menu can be styled in different ways. So you move the mouse pointer over that. So here you'll see this rectangle, and you can also change the text color or the border or the outline color, etc. for the navigational menu. Okay, now let's say we'll see today how to define a simple navigational menu. So what I'll do is so here let's say I have this div id, I give the name as container. Then I have an unordered list. So I say home. Yes. Then let's say I want to have 4 navigational links. I'm going to add 4 list items. Here I say about, products, contact. Now when you look at it, let's say, so now what I want is I don't want this bullets to appear. I want to remove the bullets. So what I need to do, I need to add a style tag. I need to style the list. So this UL is within this container. So let's say hash list style none. Okay, container. DIV, okay. 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 So I've removed the, let's say the bullets here, right? Then I need to add some styling to style the navigational menu. Okay. So what I'll do is, let's say I need to style this li. So I say hash ul li. And I want to give a background color. And I also want to give a width and height attributes. Height 50 pixels. Fine. So I have a background color, right? And I also want to add a border to this. I add a border. So say 1 pixel, solid, white. So I've added a border. Then let's say when you look at this, it is being displayed at the top, right? I want it to be displayed in the center. So I give the text align attribute. Text align center. I'm displaying it now. The text appears in the center. But let's say I also want to vertically align the text. For that, I have to give the line height attribute. That also I'll give. Pixel. Right, then this is not visible clearly. What I do is I'll change the foreground color to white. Okay, now I've added a border to this, right? Then I want to, let's say, text alignment, and I, instead of being displayed horizontally, I want it, let's say vertically. So I say float right? So it appears as a navigation menu. Now what I'll do is I'll let's say define a font size. Font size is 18 pixels. Okay, it appears as a, let's say, neat. Okay, now then what I want to see, when you move the mouse pointer over this, and I want to change the color. So for that, what you can do is ULLI colon hover. Now I say color background color. Now you see, when I move the mouse pointer over this, I'm changing the background color as well as the text color, right? You write down, then okay, then we'll see how to add a hyperlink and link it to the pages tomorrow. Okay, write down this now. Okay, finished. So tomorrow we'll see how to, let's say, add the link to connect it to different. So within the ZLI, you need to add the anchor tag, hyperlink reference, and then you need to style the anchor tag, right? So once, let's say, you move the mouse pointer, when you click, we'll make, let's see how to make them connect to other HTML pages, right? That we'll see it tomorrow. Okay. So go through everything which I've told you, right, which I've explained. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me tomorrow.